Hello everyone. Hope you people are doing well. Let's see with a new topic today in Playwright, and the topic is how do we hover over an element. So sometimes in a requirement, in some of the application will be like we need to hover an element and then some of the details will appear for that particular element. Without clicking, we have to basically hover on an element and then some of the details for that particular element will be displayed. Example, I have one application, which is spicejet.com, where if you see these add-ons, how it will work is if you hover on add-ons, then all the other details, like few of the details will be displayed over here, like Spice Max and so on. So if you have to implement this thing, like we have to hover on an element and then validate whether some of the data or details is appearing or not, how do we do that? That is what we'll see in our today's session. So for this, we have to identify add-ons, hover on that, and then try to find out whether Spice Max is available on this particular menu option or not. Okay. So let's try to do in our today's session for how do we hover an element. So now if we see, we first have to launch the URL in the test. So we have to do, like, we know how do we start writing the test cases. If you're not aware of, you can visit uh, the videos that have already given over here, like how do we set up, how do we start writing the test cases using Playwright. So whenever we write a test, we have to first import a few of the things, which is like test and expect. Test is to write the test cases and expect is to uh, do some kind of assertion from Playwright test module. Okay, and we also know that how do we write a test case using a test function. So the title will be writing over here is as hover over and element. And then we know that we have to use async and await concept. If you're not aware of, please visit my previous videos. You'll get all the details. And then we have to write a step inside the function. So first step will be to launch the URL. So to launch the URL, we'll be using base.go to. And next we have to identify an element, which is add-ons over here. So to identify an element, we will inspect the element and we have some values over here, which is saying add-ons. So if I just search it out, how many times add-ons are available, then it is saying there are two elements which is available with the same name, or other element is consisting of this particular add-ons. We can see it over here, right? So let's try to see how do we write the locator. If you are not aware of how do we write the locator, please again go to the video where I have discussed the different types of locator. So to write a locator, there are different methods. One is like locator method, and other is the Playwright has given some kind of built-in functions. So let's utilize the built-in function that Playwright has given using text values over here right now. So get by text, and what text we want to identify is add-ons. As we know that here, add-ons text is available more than one time on the application or for the pages. So we can also define it here, saying that exact true. That means I just need a text element which is having exact value as add-ons. Okay. And then what we have to do is we have to hover over an element. So to hover over an element, we basically have one method that Playwright has given is known as hover. It will just do a hover over an element. You can see it just what is the definition of hover method is hover over the matching element. If the element is matching, then it will hover on that particular element. And our main goal is to validate whether after hover over an element, if the spice max is appearing or not. So if we just to inspect for Spice Max, we will see that there is a text value which is known as Spice Max, but before that also it is having data-test ID, which is identifying it as a see here, which is identifying the data-test ID as test ID Spice Max. So let's write a locator for this to again identify. So we'll be writing page. So we are trying to assert, that means we are trying to validate whether Spice Max is available on the page after hover over on add-ons or not. So for that, we'll be writing page dot get by test ID. Why I'm trying to use get by test ID is as for this particular element, we have a data test ID. So whenever we have an attribute for an element, which is displaying as data-test ID, at that point of time, we can directly use a method that Playwright has given to identify an element or ID locator by using get by test ID. And whatever the value that it has given for the test ID, we can write it over here. And now we'll just say that to be visible on the page. That means we are trying to say that whether this element is visible on the page or not after hover over on add song. Okay, so that is it in terms of how do we hover over an element. Let's try to run this and then we'll see how it is working. So to run this particular file, we have to give npx playwright test. Where is the path of this particular file located? So the name that I've given over here is hover.spec.js. So we can directly write it over here, hover.spec.js. And as soon as we try to run, this will launch the URL. So here we have to give dot over here. So we'll see like it will launch the URL first, and then we'll hover over and add-ons, and we'll try to find out whether Spice Max is available after hovering over or not. So see, the test was so fast that we did not even observe whether it has opened or opened the other window or not. Let's wait for some of seconds to wait for timeout. Let's say for 2 seconds to check whether it is appearing or not. In general, we do not have to wait for timeout. We just want to see that whether it is doing a hover on add-ons and a menu option is appearing or not. That is why I've given wait for timeout. So it will do a hover on element, and then we can see it basically opens a pop-up as well. Okay, so that is it in terms of how do we do hover over an element. Okay, so that's it about this session, and we'll continue the next session with some other topic. Till then, thank you everyone.